Hey everybody, Obey the Papaya here, back at you again with another YouTube video. So this YouTube video is just gonna be, it's basically gonna be an item guide. So it's gonna be something that, we got version 0 to 18 coming, and that's gonna be an item change. But I see a lot of people asking about, like, not necessarily what to build, but like what are strong items? What are items that are like in the meta, really good and all that. I wanted to make one pretty quick because I felt like it was relatively simple, and we still have like 3 weeks in, so might as well. And also, you can learn a lot of stuff from these type of items too. Maybe I'm going to say something you didn't know about. There's a lot of learning, even me just discussing some of these items, and maybe there's some stuff I don't even know, and then we can work together and figure it out. So let's get straight into it. So first, we got the mid lane items. Granted, this isn't going to be me talking about mid lane, off lane, and all that stuff. Everything's totaled up. I'm going to try to share explanations of this item could be good in this location, this location. That's why it's really strong. So let's start off with Mega Cosm. So Mega Cosm is providing you, this is a really good first item. Even if you're building something like Alchemical Rod, this is still the first item after Alchemical Rod. It's really good because it's providing you ability haste. It's giving you that mana. It's giving you really good damage, and it gives you a ton of damage from dot damage. So like when we bring Combustion into the mix, Combustion in theory isn't really worth it unless you're playing someone in like Howitzer, right? Where you're gonna be kind of sending one ability mainly to them, right? Mega Cosm though, because it has ability haste and it does close enough damage, right? It's the better item overall, and it scales well into late game. So it's something that you have to consider, and it's really strong, and you gotta basically use it and abuse it. Next is Caustica. Caustica is probably the best item in the game for mages. And it's because it's your only shred item. You ignore not shred, penetration item. You ignore 40% of magical armor. And you basically have infinite mana from this point on. It is crazy regen. You're basically not gonna run out of mana. It's a third item buy. All right, so this is almost always a third item buy, possibly second item with Argus. Technically a third item if you call Alchemical Rod an item. Next is Golem's Gift. Now, Golem Gift isn't something that's usually built all the time, but it's a slept-on item in my book because it helps you against assassins. It helps you against bursts from attack damage, from physical power, and it is strong. It is a very good item actually. I want to try out a builder. I was gonna build it first. The next time I have a Killari in the game, I want to build it first and kind of see what happens because it's a relatively cheap item and gives you a lot of power, a lot of buffs. So I'm kind of interested in it. Even I'm against someone who is ability power in my lane. If I'm worried about a Kalari or a Crunch or something coming in and bursting me, I might pick up Golem's Gift. It is an extremely good item against things like that. From the AD burst or physical power burst perspective. Tainted Scepter hit the meta from PCC. Tainted Scepter is phenomenal. It's what's good about it basically is it's giving you ability haste, but not just that, it's the malice. Once every second you gain a stack of malice, stacks up to 15 times. Takedowns grant instant stacks, but hitting a hero with ability damage will deal 4 plus 1% ability damage per stack. I'm like 99% that is also true damage. So it's really strong damage. This is gonna be, that's why it's actually build up second item. Plus, there's a lot of lifesteal in the game right now. I've dropped off Wraith Leggings for Tainted Scepter, and many people have too, because that damage increase overall without having to be below 40% is absolutely huge. And it's procced off of hitting a hero, not procced off of hitting a minion like Combustion, for example. Second item, Tainted Scepter. Next, Orb of Enlightenment. I was doing some math using it's called Pred Academy that Mugiwara made. Really good content creator. Check him out. I was looking at it, and Orb of Enlightenment, it takes time to scale, of course. You have to get there, but overall you're gaining a lot from that item, and I was just kind of slept on it. Now granted, like I said, it's a dependent item. If you're playing against high level players, it's an item to build because you're going to play and scale to the late game, to the primal and prime objectives. Early game, I would probably, if you're kind of in low elo, I would kind of avoid it, but I had to keep it here because it is actually really strong, and I admit that I was missing out on it. So it is a very strong item. Next is True Silver Bracelet, and this is really strong because it grants you immunity when you cast an ultimate, right? So this is, of course, really strong on Narbash Let me check really quick if I have it listed. I don't have it listed here, so I guess we'll talk about it. Uh, True Silver Bracelet is really strong because it's the first item on Narbash. It basically allows Narbash to get his ult off at level 1. It gives good magic power to help increase healing scaling and his thunk damage. Magical armor is a little iffy. That's only con, but it gives you ability haste as well. And it's a really, really good item. And it scales really well with him, and it makes him be Narbash, and it's also good for Gideon. So when you ult as Gideon, you use your ultimate on Gideon, and then you also run a Soul Bearer crest. So when you ultimate, wait just a little bit before it procs off, then press your Soul Bearer crest. That way, your Soul Bearer crest will protect your True Silver crest or your True Silver shield, therefore allowing you to stay immune for longer if they're actually trying to shut you down. If that makes sense, if you guys get what I'm saying here, right? True Silver shield is separate from any other shield, but in terms of the actual in terms of the immunity, so that's why you get Soul Bearer on top of it. So Soul Bearer has to go. Now they have to destroy the next immunity shield, and that's it. If you do it the other way, that's not how it works. Soul Bearer's shield is its own separate entity for say. I had to add Oathkeeper here for people like Shinbi, and you could build it on Countess. I'm not a fan of it. When it gets into late team fights, you're gonna have trouble, getting that empowered basic attack in. But it is a really strong item. It can scale really well with Orb of Enlightenment. I kind of kept what was it called, the stacked HP one, because it doesn't really give you that much magic power. I forgot what it was called. I can't think of that item. Oathkeeper is something interesting. I'd say it's a cooking item, but I would technically kind of, it has to be, it's really good on Shinbi though, because it's giving you the ability haste to spam your Q. It's giving you HP to be a little bit more tankier and bruisier. It's to give you really good magical power scaling, and it does have a really nice Celestial Spellblade, right? That ability. Now, granted, Celestial Spellblade, let's say you have augmentation. If you have augmentation, Celestial or Oathkeeper, and the other one, I can't think. It's an ice looking one. I have it right here. It's do I not have Elefrost here? Okay, gotta modify Elefrost. I swear I had it. I probably deleted it by accident. Elefrost passive. It all combines. It's not separated, so you gotta be wary of that, right? So sorry, not worried. Don't have to be worried about it. It all stacks together, and you can use it on towers. So this helps you take towers even faster, right? After using an ability on towers. So it's a really strong item overall for characters like Shinbi. Next, we got Oblivion Crown. This item scales so extremely hard. It's a 4th to 5th item buy, kind of depending on your overall situation. If you need the damage or you need to risk the damage, I buy a 4th item. It's just phenomenal as magic. It gives you pure magic power scaling. It's literally the perfect item for late game. And when you just need even more burst, even more potential, it's the item. You have to build Oblivion Crown. All right, so next on the list or next page, we're gonna talk a little bit about like ADC style matchups or builds and their value. Vanquisher, phenomenal carry item for any carry that has really good damage scaling, so physical power scaling. Vanquisher is the only one item that has crit percent chance and penetration, as well as the highest physical power damage output, I think. So it's a really forget about its passive. Just those 3 stats make it a really good item to build, and has a relatively easy build path. So Vanquisher is a first item for characters like Murdoch, Drongo, Revenant. Anyone with relatively high damage burst potential. It's monstrous. Next, we got Sky Splitter. This item, it's the entire meta. Any carry, most carries that are attack based or basic attack based, they need Sky Splitter. You're gonna do damage to tanks. This is what you need. That's just gonna do, straight up max target HP and current target HP. So it's gonna help against people like Shinbi and Countess if they build a little bit health bruiser, and it's gonna help against tanks. And it doesn't give you crit, but it's the item that you basically need to have, in your kit as a carry. It's a second item. I would replace it over Tainted Blade. Tainted Blade has kind of fell off a bit, especially with Tainted Totem being applied to, by healing. So it's really good for if you have a phase, if you have Narbash, if you have Muriel to apply those. And you can also go Tainted Scepter on those guys and have damage. But it's, building Tainted on a carry isn't worth it in value in reality anymore. It's better to get stronger full on damage items, So only if you're in pubs and your team's not building it would I replace Sky Splitter with Tainted Dagger. But it's like, how are you gonna really know that? And Sky Splitter is the better item. Now, Demolisher is the item breaking the meta in reality. It's probably one of the only items that it's breaking the tank meta and making it a CC meta. It's it's the third item. You need to get this item third item. That's just about it. It's gonna scale based off of the tanks and bruisers getting HP. It's gonna forever scale from that point on. You ignore 30% of physical armor. It's a monster of an item. It's very strong. Next is Perforator. Perforator is also on the third item. Like, you buy this or that. Perforator is good though for burst. So it's better against squishies. It's better against overall trying to burst the target down. Assassins, really. But it's tough to really go Perforator when Demolisher is there, because Demolisher is just that much more impactful overall, So it's like only Perforator is really good for, like, if you go the Assassin Twin Blast build, Kalari, Fang Mao. Those are the only people that are really going to abuse Perforator really, really well. The slow is really nice, but it's just, it is biased more towards Assassin build style. Alright, next is Stonewall. So Stonewall on the carries. Stonewall is so good because it prevents people like Kalari, like Fang Mao from bursting you down. You're getting physical armor. This is a fourth item, maybe fifth item buy. Even a third item if you're getting that punished by a Kalari or a Fang Mao. If you have to push back Demolisher or you push Demolisher forward for whatever reason. It's a phenomenal item on carries. It's really strong. It did get nerfed, so the stun got lowered, but it's still a setup item. It prevents things from really happening to you. It's a phenomenal item. This item is good on freaking mid lane. It's good on literally anybody. Anytime you have a Kalari or Fang Mao being very dominant, you want to build this item, fifth item, fourth item. Next is Infernum. So Infernum came in with a pretty strong buff, right? With added physical penetration, and I mean, I think it even had its 3-stack. The 90% scaling I think also got buffed heavily. So it's been a strong item for burst, for Twin Blast Assassin, Kalari, Fang Mao. It's a strong item overall that should be considered for anyone that's going to have a lot of burst, that's going to be applying that, especially late game. 90% of total physical damage scaling over 2 seconds. It's a lot of damage, so it's a really good item to build. Unfortunately, it doesn't have crit, so that's your one thing on why it's going to benefit on hit type of damage more, or spellcasters. Next, Stormbreaker. So Stormbreaker is a start for on hitters. So people like Twin Blast, if you go the normal build on him, and Sparrow. Stormbreaker is a very strong item, and it takes time. You got to scale it up. It's basically gonna help you clear a little bit faster if you're Sparrow. And heck, even TB, who doesn't even need that help. It's just a phenomenal item. Once again, you're going on hit, so you don't really need the crit at this point. You're going straight for the on hit damage. Mind Razor, it's the assassin and clear item. It's mainly for Twin Blast, and when it comes to carry lane, this is an item that it's big on Fang Mao. It's big on Wraith as well. Forgot about Wraith right there. Yeah, Mind Razor is the Wraith. That's what you're gonna build on Wraith to give him sustained, give him clear, give him a ton of damage. Mind Razor is a very strong item overall for assassins, for faster clear. So if you're an assassin character, you do want to look into this item. It's not really built on Kalari. Kalari's usually goes the Malady route. This is definitely, though, an item that you should prioritize when it comes to going Fang Mao, Twin Blast, people like that. Wraith. Next is Mesmer. So Mesmer is really strong because it's granting you the spell shield, right? It's that last item build. Mind Razor is the first item, by the way, for stacking. Now Mesmer, right, it's going to give you that spell shield. Spell shield is something that I would always kind of sleep on when I was lower elo and play the game. But when you're late game and you're dodging any spell, literally any spell that's trying to target you, one spell can do half your damage, like half your HP. It could be a stun. It could be a CC. It also could be something completely worthless. But when it helps you, when you need it, it is such a it's huge. It puts it's just don't sleep on spell shields like I used to, is all I'm gonna say, right? Focus on your positioning, and that spell shield is gonna help you that one time you make that mistake, right? And Mesmer is giving you penetration, it's giving you HP, and it's giving you 40 physical power. It's a very strong item by default, right? And that spell shield it will save you. I promise you. That one reason, one time that you would have, I needed to dodge that Gideon rock. That will do it. Promise you. Augmentation, this kind of skips into more of the bruiser meta now. We'll get on with it. Augmentation, once again, it's a very strong item for people like Crunch right now. One of the most popular offlaners and junglers currently. Getting really high physical power, really good max HP, 20 ability haste, which is crazy, and you're getting your True Strike. Empower your next basic attack within 4 seconds, and you deal extra true on-hit damage. This can be used on turrets, so this is going to help you clear turrets faster. It's going to help you clear objectives faster. It's a very, very strong, item. And it's and here, even casting your ultimate, you're getting 15% movement speed for a bit. I mean, Crunch can already run away really quick. I'm not trying to think of who else really uses augmentation, but it's an item that, when you're playing the bruiser type of characters, that this item is extremely strong. And once again, you can use this on towers. Berserker's Axe. So Berserker Axe, really strong item, especially now with Chimera being popular. Even though he's getting the nerf with the patch, it gives you a ton of physical power, ton of max HP, 15 ability haste, and a movement speed buff. That's kind of rare overall, right? And on dashing or leaping, empower your next basic attacks within 12 seconds. This is, it's huge damage output right here. You're going to deal, I think it's based off of max HP, slows the target for a bit, and your basic attacks will reduce the cooldown. So once you have your jump back up, if you're Chimera, if you're Rampage, you output a ton of damage building this. I think this could be something where if you want to take a Bruiser Fang Mao build, it's a slept on item overall, but has entered the meta with Chimera being as strong. Like, people were kind of sleeping on it, and then boom, whoa, this is a really strong item for Chimera. So a Chimera nerf, this technically help make the clear faster as you're jumping on the jungler, and you're getting your empowered basic attack, right? And then also the movement exiting fog wall. It's solid for ganks. So next item is Basilisk. So Basilisk is also a very broken item. It's applying shred. So it has very strong physical power, really strong max HP, or high max HP, 15 ability haste. It's basically everything that you'd need in an offlane build as a first item. And on top of that, you're reducing physical armor by 4% for 3 seconds, and it stacks up to 6 times. Now, Corrode is the same exact passive that works on, I think it's called Viper. It's the ADC item. So if someone has Viper and someone has Basilisk, you can't stack those two Corrodes. Those are unique. So that's the only con about it. Why Viper hasn't really entered the chat too much. It's very strong, but Basilisk is a very popular item, and you should have a character running Basilisk on your team, as physical, shred is really strong, especially with Demolisher shredding 30%, right, of physical armor. So yeah, and then when basic attacking eroded heroes, you deal 4% target missing HP. So once you're basically stacked up, really strong with Chimera, you're gonna do even more damage. It's wild. It's a very strong item. It's a very overpowered item. It's a first item buy. Berserker Axe being a second item buy. Next, we got Omen. So Omen, really strong item as well. All these items are pretty strong. It's an assassin-based item. It's to reset your cooldown. So reset your cooldown on your basic skills, excluding your ultimate. It gives you really high physical power, penetration, and ability haste. The stacks come really quick. It's really good for people like Wraith, Fang Mao. You could look into building this on Kalari. A lot of interesting, other characters. Heck, I could even say that you could probably build this on Crunch and be very effective, but you're gonna miss out on tank, durability. So this is like this can be a second item build or to a fourth item build. So second item for people like Fang Mao, and then fourth item for like Wraith builders. Tainted Bastion and Tainted Guard. In general, Tainted is a really strong, right? Bastion isn't built as much because so it's just not built overall. But the good thing about it is you get to mitigate 5% of damage taken, right? When you are procced on it, and it's doubled against blighted targets. Now, what you call double tainted is Tainted Guard and Tainted Bastion being built. Now, Tainted Guard is a phenomenal item by itself. It should be built on most tanks. On being hit by a basic attack, you get to reduce their healing and you apply a bleed. And I think the bleed scales off of armor percent. So this is not damage, this is armor. So however much armor you have is how much the bleed would increase. And by having blighted both of these blights on, you're basically guaranteed to apply this blighted target and get 10% mitigation. So that's like using these two, you get 10% mitigation basically. So, that's why people do the double tainted. You're technically going to lose value off of that source healing, right? It's not going to stack, but you're going to get 10% mitigation. 10% of damage is going to be ignored, And if you get Stonewall on top of that, I think Stonewall has 8 plus 6%. I think this is armor as well. So you basically get 8% physical damage mitigated, and then you get another 6, or added on to that, you get 6% of, I think it's armor based. So if you get like Stonewall, Tainted Bastion, Tainted Guard, carries are not going to do much damage to you. So you got to be, you got to plan for that. All right, so next on the list, we got Raymen of Renewal. Raymen of Renewal, we're entering the support items here, with the Spire Blossom kind of being in there. I had to kind of fix it up a bit. But Raymen of Renewal is something I slept on as a support steel player that I couldn't believe I was sleeping on. Building this as like a second item allowed me to basically sit and tank basic attack damage early game. Like it just made me so tanky. I felt like an absolute god. Granted, be warned, when they get Demolisher, you got to be careful. It does that's when you don't have the any armor, so now you're gonna get shredded. So one quick tip, right? HP dominates early game. After early game, basically once you get a little bit towards Demolisher time, third item, that's when armor really matters. You need, you definitely need armor. So Raymen Renewal is going to allow you to tank a lot of hits from that carry to, when you're playing Steel or Richter, to where I recommend it as a first, second item, kind of depending on on your level of aggression. And Spire Blossom is an extremely strong item. It's first item built on most characters. What's that? On Tainted Bastion, Tainted Guard, these guys I would build like third and fourth item. So third item, it depends if they're AP or if they're physical power or ability power, on which one to build first, basically. So Spire Blossom is a really strong item. It leads to Brimstone, where you're doing passive damage just being next to anybody, right? And when you build it up all the way, damage is increased to monsters and immobilized targets. I don't know the percentage too much. It doesn't show it on the website. I don't know if it does it in the game. But when you're playing Steel, when you're playing Richter, when you're playing a lot of these tanks, Spire Blossom, I mean, you're doing this if anyone stuns that person or slows them or immobilizes them, right? They're gonna get increased damage. You're just gonna run them down, basically, and it scales off of your max HP. So it's a very strong item, and it makes you really tanky. It's relatively inexpensive. It's very, very strong to help you apply pressure by in theory doing nothing. So Spire Blossom is a phenomenal item. Now we're getting a little bit to the support builds. Support's kind of flatlined, but I want to kind of put some importance on like why these items are so strong. So like Tainted Totem, right? On healing and shielding allies, you grant them Blight to touch. This is definitely a more support-based item, which basically means if you're healing or shielding your teammate, they now apply Tainted. That means they do not need Tainted Dagger in reality, right? That's why Tainted Totem is so strong, and it benefits to get Sky Splitter for the carry. Because, so getting this third item, second item, right, depending on the situation, if you're against Narbash, if you're against Chimera, against Countess, this is basically what you want to look for. Even for supports, I like to build Tainted Scepter from like a damage support, right? Because I want to apply more damage and also apply Tainted, so my carry doesn't have to be the one applying Tainted, right? So it's trying to find that balance of you know what your overall trying to do for your carry. And Tainted Totem, it's one reason why it makes Narbash and Phase really strong right now. It's pretty easy, and Muriel. You're basically applying, you know, allowing your team to apply Tainted without them having to have a Tainted item, right? Um, Next is Time Warp. So Time Warp used to be a big mid item, but it definitely has moved more towards support as a lot of high level damage came into mid. And Time Warp reduces your cooldowns basically, except for your ultimate. So it gives you a lot of haste, gives you really good power, and it gives you a lot of mana regions. You're able to poke a lot. So you know, Time Warp is a little bit slept on overall. If you're gonna take an Argus support, if you're taking even a Decker, if you're taking a Bellica, building this is gonna give you a cooldown to get your stuns back faster, as well as do a ton of damage and have pretty good mana regen. So going like a Time Warp and Tainted Scepter for the damage based supports is really good in my opinion. And the build path isn't that bad for Time Warp, even though it's entering being an expensive item. Next is Wellspring. So Wellspring, it's the king of healing. Anytime you heal someone, you're gonna heal them more. So a lot of healing type characters. It's really strong on Muriel, for example, because you put a shield on, you're casting an ability, they're gonna heal off of it. Same thing with Phase, same thing with Narbash. It's a really strong item. It's entering the first item possibly, second, third item, first to third item. It's any time. It depends if you need more healing, you know, and whatnot. Definitely scales more into late game, right? But it's a solid item. Next is Crystal Tier. So Crystal Tier did get a small nerf on the mana region. I don't think it's updated actually on this chart. I think it's at 175 mana region right now instead of 225. But it gives you strong magic power, good ability haste, and then on shielding and healing, you both gain 40 magical power and 20 ability haste. That's crazy, especially for a lot of the people you're going to be healing or shielding. That's going to increase your base heals, right? You know, your heals, your shield values. It's a really strong item overall, and it still is a item that you can build first on a lot of characters that are playing support right now. All right, I think that's it. So this is kind of just a quick like overall just an item overview of like some of the most popular items in the game right now, as well as I would say some slept items that in my opinion are. So I just kind of want to share this info out because people have been kind of asking about items. I see that in the research, asking about items. What, you know, I want to look at these items. I want to see what are good items. Not necessarily builds, but what are the items? So I kind of just wanted to do that. I wanted to show you the items, the really strong items that people are using, you know, constantly. The meta, I guess, right? So that's what this video is about. Hopefully it's not too long. I did want to kind of release this relatively quick and share information as well as like things in the back of my head, you know, and how they can you know, to kind of explain myself in a way. And as there's like I can say the item, but you might not know what the item can do unintentionally, right? So let me know what you guys think of this video. If I rambled too much, if this is a pointless video. I know we only have 3 weeks, but hey, if people are interested in the videos, I might as well make some item videos, right? So let me know what you guys think in the comment, but and leave a like and subscribe if you did enjoy. But on that note, take it easy, have a good one, good luck in your games, I'll catch you later, peace.